We all know that you've got to have art hanging above the fireplace, right? And it's no exception here. Behind me are 6 pairs of white-on-white Dunk Lows that I splatter painted myself. And I gotta tell you, the day that I painted these shoes was one of the most fun days at work that I've ever had. So I've said time and time again that my love of Nike shoes comes from my dad's running. But there's no way that I could have built the ShoeZeum without the influences of my mom. My mom's an artist, and when I was growing up, she always encouraged me to paint and do all sorts of artistic, creative things. And to me, the ShoeZeum was really just that, a 10,000 square foot art project where I used Nike shoes as my paint and canvas, and I just went to town. I want to walk you through the shoes in front of me, which were the art exhibit at the ShoeZeum. In front of me are a pair of black Dunks that I splatter painted orange. I did these at the grand opening of the ShoeZeum, where I allowed 10 lucky guests to customize and take home a pair of these Dunks for themselves. It was super duper fun. So when I was a kid and my mom would ask me to paint, I would always just splatter paint because that's what I was good at. I was never good with a paintbrush and like painting between the lines. This was just sort of my thing. And I love these shoes. They're orange because orange is the color of Nike. I'm going to put these down and talk about other Nikes inspired by art. And I want to start up here with these Dunk Low Premiums. They're called Splatters. Check them out. The upper has splatter paint on them, just like the shoes behind me and the ones I painted at the grand opening. And the crazy thing about this shoe is it's white, gray, and red, which are the colors of my childhood room. And I just can't believe the irony that the splatter painted shoe matches my childhood bedroom. You'll notice alongside the splatters are the unsplatters. And this shoe is basically this shoe, but without the splatter paint. There are some minor differences here and there, but the shoes were kept next to one another because I feel like this shoe helps bring this one to life. Sort of like the blank canvas before the splatter painting. I also had a pair of white-on-white Dunk Lows in the ShoeZeum, and this is really, truly the ultimate canvas as a dunk to be customized. And I decided that I wanted to customize a pair for myself, and so the first step when you customize a pair of shoes is to actually sand off the upper, and then you would apply the paint. So here's a pair where I started sanding them, and I completely sanded off the upper, and I call it the Naked Dunk. I really fell in love with the way the shoe looked without any material or anything on the upper, sort of the inside of the leather. And so next to the blank canvas were a pair of the naked canvas, if you will. Behind all of these Dunk Lows are a pair of Dunk Highs. They're SBs, and they're called the Uncle. Uncle spelled with a K. Check it out, there's a K right there. This shoe was designed by Futura 2000. He's a graffiti artist, and they're a collaboration with Mowax, which is a UK record label. And these black and pink babies are worth well over $500. There's less than 1,000 pairs in the world. They're really hard to come by dead stock. You can see the white sole has never seen the ground. Put these back here on display. And then I want to talk about laser shoes. There was a whole laser section in the art exhibit at the ShoeZeum. You know these were in there. This is the first laser shoe ever made. It's an Air Force One. It was designed by Mark Smith. His inspiration was tattoos. And he said jokingly in an interview that with this shoe, he barely scratched the surface. They've had laser shoes on all sorts of different models. The Air Jordan 20 had laser etching all over it. Next to these Mark Smith Air Force Ones are a pair of Michael Desmond Dunks. These are also laser etched. There's only 200 pairs of these, and there are only 200 pairs of these. They're both absolutely amazing. The details on them are incredible. You just have to see them in real life. Back here, a pair of laser Air Force Ones that are part of the Dorenbecher collection. So each year, Nike goes to Dorenbecher Children's Hospital and allows 5 children to design a pair of shoes. These were designed by Colin Couch. They actually sat around on shelves when they first came out, But now the hype for Dorenbecker's crazy that they're even re-retroing this shoe and a bunch of other shoes that just came out just a couple of years ago. This one came out 2 weekends ago and sold out. And it's crazy because when it originally came out, it just sort of sat around. This is an original release. I love these. Check out these laser dunks. These ones were designed by Lance Dillon. There's only 1,050 pairs in the whole world. And the writing in the laser says words like fight and hunger and family. Here it says Shelby. Maybe that was his sister or his mom or a best friend. But basically words that meant a whole lot to him were laser etched on these shoes. They're very, very hard to come by. Now I want to work my way over here to a bunch of vandals and to the Jeff McFetrich exhibit. Jeff McFetrich is an artist, and Nike's done a couple collaborations with him. Up front are some vandals that he designed. Love the blue ones. So check out this shoe. At a first glance, it sort of looks like it's a plain and simple seersucker-esque blue pinstriped vandal, and it is. But underneath this upper is a whole bunch of graffiti, and you have to peel it away to customize this shoe. And same thing with the one in Classic Olive. Classic Olive is the shade of green of this shoe. So these shoes came out in '03, around the same time as Nike ID, where you could go online and customize your own pair of shoes, and you could customize these by ripping them away. And I believe at that time, Nike was sort of experimenting with ways that people could customize their own shoes. I remember being at an outlet store in '03, and they had racks of these. And people were buying them up 10 at a time. And I didn't know anything about them. And I was like, what are they buying these vandals for? They were $39.99. And I went home and I did my research. I looked up the style number and color code. Every pair of Nikes has a 6-digit style number, 3-digit color code. There's a plethora of information if you decide to look them up on Google. And I found out that these were called the tearaways. And I was like, man, I got to get back to that outlet store and buy them. I went back the next day and they were all gone. Anyway, this shoe was the first tearaway. These were a pair of the first tearaways. And behind them are some other vandals that are also known as tearaways. And if you look here, Nike actually did us the favor of perforating the upper, sort of to give us a hint of what was underneath and maybe a head start of how to customize the shoe. And then there's another pair of vandals alongside those. Same deal, nice brown upper with these little perforations for you to just tear into and go to town. So the two in front were a Jeff McFetrich collaboration. The two in back were not. The dunks right next to me are amazing. I mean, talk about a shoe as a work of art. These are them. There are only 24 pairs in the world. Designed by Jeff McFetrich. They're made of paper. Look how thin this is. It weighs nothing. Like, I feel like I'm holding a feather in my hand. It's known as the paper mache dunk. 24 pairs were auctioned off. Money went to charity. Each shoe is unique. They were a collaboration with MoCA in Los Angeles. That's the Museum of Contemporary Art. If you look at the tag, you can see MoCA. That's their logo on there. And these shoes came along with a really cool art card. They had t-shirts that were a collaboration with this exhibit. Really, really nice, and I'm glad to see that the world is starting to look at Nike shoes as a form of art, because that's how I've always seen them. I want to have a look at some of my other favorite art shoes. I'm going to gingerly place this on top of this. Remember, it's like stacking paper on paper. And then I want to get into 3 more pairs of art-inspired shoes. These right here are very sentimental to me. They're called the Nike Avid, and they were given to me by Zappos. Zappos customized the shoes and the box. The Zappos people came and toured the ShoeZeum, fell in love with it, went on their website, ordered the Avid, and Avid, by the way, means enthusiastic, ardent, dedicated, and keen. So thoughtful of them. And then they designed this pair of shoes for me, which I proudly kept in the art exhibit. I'm going to put these down here. Hopefully I won't knock into these paper mache shoes for a third time in this video. And I want to look at 2 amazing pairs of shoes inspired by famous artists. Boom, the Piet Mondrian. Check out this postcard. Piet Mondrian was a Dutch artist who was famous for creating an intersecting grid with black lines and then using the primary colors in between. This was very contemporary at the time. I love these, and I promise you one day I'm going to have a pair of these proudly on display next to a real Piet Mondrian. I'm going to put these down, and I saved the best for last. The best shoe in the art exhibit is the Air Jordan 7 OC John Miro edition. These are amazing. They're very hard to get. They've gone crazy in value. And this shoe is just loaded with history. So let me put these down and grab one, and let's talk about it. So the Air Jordan 7 originally came out in 1992. And at the time, Michael Jordan went off to Barcelona to play with the Dream Team, which was the best team ever assembled. And they blew out every other country in the Olympics, and the Olympics were in Barcelona, Spain. John Miro is a Spanish artist, one of the most famous artists in the history of Spain. And so Nike decided to do a collaboration with the pair of Jordans that he wore in the Olympics and the greatest artist from Spain. And so these are them. They're called the Miro OC. OC stands for Olympic. They have bits and pieces of the colors of the Olympic rings on the heel tab. The laces match. Underneath are some of the countries that competed in the Olympic Games with these icy soles. I can't believe they're still so icy after all these years. And the shoes even came with laces that look like the Olympic rings, different colored, and they're even on display like this. And then the back is sort of an oversized Miro retro Olympic art card. So I loved the art exhibit. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of my mom. It reminds me to always be creative in everything that I do. And I can't wait to list these shoes on eBay. You can go on eBay and search for ShoeZeum Art, and you'll be able to bid on a whole lot of these.